Welcome to Don't Be Shady, the podcast where we keep it real about love, dating, and relationships. No sugarcoating, no games, just the raw truth about red flags, boundaries, healing, and everything in between. So grab your tea, take a deep breath, and let's get into it, because around here, we don't do shady. Welcome to Don't Be Shady. This is episode 8. But I would like to consider this my episode 1 because now I'm in this fancy schmancy studio where I get to really be creative and come in and pop in and do my thing and leave. And I don't have to do any of the hard work. So we'll just go there. So we'll start with what is Don't Be Shady and how I got here. So welcome back to Don't Be Shady. And today I'm going to keep it simple and personal. And I want to share this podcast and share what this podcast is really about and how I got here. Because I'm probably sure many of you are wondering, how did I got here? How did I come up with the name? What are we doing? This podcast was actually born from a real life experience. The kinds that shakes you up and really forces you to grow. That's what I'm talking about. This is the type of episode, or this is the type of, hold on, let me get my thoughts together. This is what forced me to create this podcast in my own version and in my own way. I've been through toxic relationships, betrayal, heartbreak, and the long journey of healing and finding my voice again. Because I'm sure that many of you have been in a situation similar, or maybe you're going through something as I'm going to talk about. And in that version of you going through what you're going through, you've lost your voice in some way, because I know I did. The more I healed, the more I realized that, I wasn't alone. Many of us out here are doing the work, trying to love and be loved, trying to protect our peace, and still running into shady behavior. I can remember a time when that was my reality. That was what I dealt with on a normal basis, but I didn't realize it. And so I created this space, a podcast where we can talk about stuff people usually whisper about. We're not whispering anymore. Where we can be real about red flags, boundaries, dating with purpose, self-worth, and not settling. Because I know a lot of times we get stuck in these routines of the toxic relationship that you found yourself in accidentally has now become your normal every day. So for you, when you're telling the story to someone, they're probably gasping like, oh my God, how are you dealing with that? But because it's been your normal every day-to-day life for you, it's your normal. And so on the outside looking in, we look crazy, but on the inside looking out, we're just trying to survive. So where we can be real about the red flags, the boundaries, dating, purpose, self-worth, and not settling. So how I got here, honestly, that's a story. But it took a lot of pain, reflection, and moments where I had to pick myself up and say, this can't be it. Because when you love someone for who they are, you accept them for who they are, their flaws, their goods, their bads, their issues. Sometimes you become the therapist. Sometimes you become the counselor. Sometimes you become the partner that they abuse physically, emotionally, mentally. And you don't really know how to get out, what to do, who to turn to, because what happens when you tell people you're in that situation that you have found yourself in? Or you talk to people that'll say, I'll never be in that situation. If I were you, I would just leave. Well, if leaving was that easy, well, there would be no such thing as domestic violence, right? So I started speaking up, first with close friends, then on this mic, and I haven't looked back. Don't Be Shady isn't about calling out toxic people. It's about checking in with ourselves. It's about accountability, healing, growth, and remembering who we are. Because along the road, somewhere on our journey of this thing we call life, we lost our path. We lost the direction in which we were supposed to be traveling. It definitely wasn't supposed to be going left or south or west. I was supposed to be going straight. But we all know that life isn't perfect, and the roads are not always straight. They're windy. Sometimes they're upside down. Sometimes they're setbacks. Sometimes it's just life, what we call it, lifing. I wanted it to feel like a heart to heart. Like if you're talking to your best friend, laughing, crying, growing, and healing together. Because I know sometimes the people that we want to tell our journeys to, our situations to, those are the people that we technically don't tend to reach out to because we're going to be judged. I don't know about you, but being judged for the decisions that I make, even though I know, because I know sometimes I'll tell a story out loud and I'm like, I can't believe I'm even having this conversation. But the first thing that comes to mind is, oh my God, they're going to judge me. And they 100% are. But who are we telling our stories to so that we can feel comfortable with what we're going through, right? This isn't just a podcast. It's a vibe. It's a reminder to protect your energy, trust your intuition, and stop entertaining shady behavior, period. And I know along this journey, we call it boundaries and cutting people off and moving in a different direction. And that's all well and good. We can definitely do that, but that comes with heartbreak as well. There are friendships that I've had to cut off. There are people that I've had to remove from my life. And not because I dislike them or they were bad people. They just were moving in spaces and vibing in vibrations that I just didn't want to align myself with. And those things hurt, especially if you've known them for 20, 25 years, 10 years, and they've been a big part of your life. They've seen you through milestones. And then you come to this conclusion that maybe I was their friend, but they weren't mine. And I think that is a really hard pill to swallow for not only myself, but a lot of people, because that realization hurts. Let's be honest. So whether you've been rocking with me since the beginning or this is your first episode, thank you. I'm so glad that you're here, and trust me, we're just getting started. With a lot of the episodes that you're going to come across is, oh my God, like I'm dating. There's this guy I'm so into. And those are really great start points. Well, you're attracted. You guys liked each other. And there's nothing wrong with that because you want to be attracted to the person that you're potentially seeing a future with. But you have to ask yourself, hold on, before I let the butterflies and the emotions and the high of this person get the best of me, what do they really have to offer? What do I have to offer them? How can we grow together? How can we make this relationship move in a positive direction? And for me, it's never really about, oh, how much money do they make? What's their position? That will reveal itself in time. You want somebody who has a great character, who has morals that align with yours, who, if you are a spiritual or a godly person, you want to make sure they align with you in that aspect as well. And again, sometimes I find myself meeting potential men that just don't align that way. But there's always that question like, do you follow? Do you see this in your future? Like, how do you feel about that? Because somebody will definitely tell you how they feel about something and be honest about it. Even if they try not to really be honest about it or they're being shady about the answer, you can definitely get that. You can understand it. Like when you ask somebody, so how do you feel about marriage? Oh, I don't know. I don't really want to, that's not like a thing, or they kind of just brush off the question. If that for you was something that's important to you and the person that you're asking that question to, and it's not important to them, or they answer in those ways, then you know right away, maybe that's not the person for you. Because someone who is actively seeking a marriage, actively seeking a partner, actively seeking someone that's on their team to build with, you'll know right away from the answer. So again, just being honest and setting those boundaries will really help you skip the games that are being played, or the breadcrumbing that you're getting from the people of potential. So that's just one little thing. There's also points too where in the beginning of Don't Be Shady, I didn't know where to begin. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know how the episodes were going to play out. I had no idea, but I just knew that I had a message and I had a voice and I wanted to speak it, because in the relationship that I was in prior, my voice was taken away. I wasn't allowed to speak. I wasn't allowed to talk about how I felt. I wasn't allowed to even have emotions, because if I did, oh my God, something was wrong with me. So I want all of you to feel safe in listening, or if you have questions, or if you want to be featured on an episode, or if your story is like, oh my God, you know what? I feel safe enough. I want to come on. I want to be a feature. I want to tell my story. I want to hear about it. I want to know about you. I want to get to know you. I want to get to know my audience. I want to be your bestie. I want to be your friend. I want us to be friends. I want you to sit across the couch with me, grab your snacks, and let's have a good time. This is going to be a space for that, 100%. So if that is something that you can vibe with, then we are going to be besties forever. So just keep tuning in, keep watching, and we'll get to know each other on a very personal level. That's for sure. Well, thank you so much for listening to me and getting a little bit of an intro of who I am. Make sure you tune in for next episode, because we're going to kind of dive deep in a little bit about who I am, how I really, really got here, what drove me to starting my podcast, and why this podcast means so much to me. And I would love for you to join my journey while we explore these things together. And again, thank you so much. You can, I'm on all social media platforms, and make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, keep it cute, keep it real, and don't be shady. All right, that's a wrap on this episode of Don't Be Shady. If you laughed, nodded, or said, even once, go ahead and follow, leave a review, and share it with your crew. Slide into my DMs on Instagram, and let's keep the convo going. And remember, keep it cute, keep it classy, and don't be shady.